Hi there. So on my last project, the Berta Pants muslin, I noticed that some of my machines, I was using the two machines, this one and this one, were running a little bit sluggish. And I was thinking, I haven't oiled these machines since before Thanksgiving. Considering that sewing machine oil is such a lightweight oil and it's designed to evaporate, they needed some oil. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my oiling procedure for the three types of machines that I have. This is probably of interest to anyone who likes vintage sewing machines or machinery type stuff, or maybe has one of these machines and doesn't have any idea what to do when they go about oiling it. I'm not going to be super in depth and get real close with the camera, but I think you'll probably get the idea. Anyone with a computerized sewing machine or one of the new sewing machines that are non-oiling, you don't really have to do this stuff to your sewing machine, so this is going to be completely foreign to you. So here we go. So the oil I use for oiling sewing machines is this right here, Marvel Mystery Oil. You can pick this up at Walmart or auto parts places. It's not necessarily sold as sewing machine oil, but it was developed to be sewing machine oil way back when, and then they decided they could probably make more money if they marketed it to put in your engine. You can put in your engine, your gas tank, whatever. So what we're doing is, I've got this great handy little oiler. You see it has this long oiling tube. That's very cool. It's a vintage necky oiler. It came with this machine probably. The first thing you want to do is you want to remove the thread from your machine. Take out your bobbin case. Don't need that. Take your needle out. That's important. And you may as well take the foot off. If you have a snap-on foot or a screw-on foot, just go ahead and take that off and get that out of the way. Okay, my favorite tool for cleaning the lint out is this paintbrush. It's an old paintbrush with probably natural bristles, but it's great for, what we're going to do first is pop out the hook down here. This is our hook. I'm just going to use the brush. This one's not too linty. It mostly needs oiling, not delinting. So just pop the lint out. And the next thing we're going to do is take the lid off. Every sewing machine is a little bit different. Some just pop off, sometimes there's a screw or two. You want to be careful if there's screws not to scratch the paint around the screw hole. You'll do this often enough where you can make it look kind of worn out. And now what we're doing now, I'll take the little lid off my oiler here. And I like to run the sewing machine while I oil it because that really helps me see what parts need oil. That might feel dangerous to you. I don't think there's too much dangerous stuff going on here, but if that doesn't feel comfortable to you, just turn the sewing machine by hand. I like to have both hands free, or I'm right-handed, so I like to have the oil in my right hand. And what I'm doing is I'm just looking in the machine and I'm looking for anything with a piece of felt on it for sure could be oiled. So I'm going to oil that felt there. I'm going to put a little drop. Let me take the rest of this oiler off here. I'm going to put a little drop down here. Sometimes you'll see holes on top of joints. That's for oil. So stick some oil there, some oil there. The reason why you want to use actual, sewing machine oil, or this is a sewing machine oil, even though it doesn't say it is because you want an oil that will evaporate completely. A lot of times you'll open up an older machine and you'll find yellow varnish all over the metal parts inside, and that's because the person whoever was oiling it was using a oil that basically, once the light distillates in the oil evaporated, it left a varnish behind, which just gums up all your sewing machine parts and everything, just makes a complete mess. Really hard, it's junky to have to clean that stuff out. So I'm looking here, I'm going to treat this by hand a little bit right here. Get these parts here. You don't want to put too much on the needle bar. If you do, you'll end up with some oily first stitches. Which brings me to another point. It's probably a good idea after you've oiled your machine to take a few, sew some sew some scrap fabric for a little bit just to make sure there's no oil, and you can kind of clean the extra oil off the needle bar and whatnot. So that's most of the spots we need to oil up here. You definitely want to be sure to not get any oil on your, there's some thread there, not get any oil on your bobbin winder wheel, because then your bobbin winder wheel will not get any traction and you won't be able to wind the bobbin. So now we've done everything we can do on top, we're going to look underneath here. And you notice I've got a towel behind the machine, and I'm going to gently just lay the machine back onto the towel. And now we can look at the under bits. You can see there's quite a few things that move down here. So there's a hole here, I'm going to put some oil in. I don't want to say you can be sloppy with it, but you notice I also use this particle board on top of my plastic table. One, it's because the machines are heavy and the plastic will end up dipping. But two, it's because the particle board soaks up the extra oil really well. So any oil just kind of drops in here and soaks into the wood, and I don't really have to worry about it too much. I'm gonna put some oil here, oil here, oil here, some down in here, here, and here. I find it's kind of nice to get a little bit of oil in the track that the hook runs along. But if you get too much oil, then your bobbin thread will get all oily and whatnot, and it's kind of gross. So I'm going to wipe that lint off right there. Put my hook back in. A few more little pieces down here. You notice I have the machine, you can see the bobbin case moving back and forth. I have the machine set for zigzag. If it wasn't set for zigzag, that wouldn't be moving and I wouldn't be able to see quite everything I needed to oil. I can also see that it's moving. I have it set for straight stitch now, and it's moving back and forth just slightly, which means this machine needs a little bit of adjustment, which I should go ahead and do. Not right this second. Alright, that's all there is to oiling up this particular sewing machine. I'll just stick the top cover back on, just like that. The screw's still in there. One of the joys of vintage sewing machines is finding that machine at a thrift shop or a garage sale, or having someone give it to you and the machine hasn't been touched for 10, 15 years and it's just completely dry. And you get the machine and yeah, it runs a little bit, but then as you're running it and oiling each part, it just gets smoother and smoother and smoother, and it's just very gratifying. I think a lot of people get into vintage machines just so they can oil their machine. So that's it for the oiling of the Necky Supernova. And I might do the Singer next, so I'll do that in a separate video because this one's already gonna run over.